Hello ladies and gents, this is another video brought to you by Ants Hood. And today's video is about my Polyrachus dives back from the dead. There's a big question mark there. Now unfortunately I don't have all the footage from my thought process with this and what I witnessed, but I'll talk through it as I go on. But first let's take a look at what happened to them. So if you remember rightly, I got this colony back with about 20 workers, 3 queens I think it was, from AntCon in May. Now, fast forward a couple of months, and you might know the videos, this clip especially, my Solenopsis got out and they attacked a load of my conolies and they got into my terrarium, and there was a lot of activity in my terrarium and they were swarming over here because this is where the Polyrachus nest was in this log, and I assumed that they pretty much wiped them out. Now I did see 1 or 2 workers kicking around and stuff like that, but generally speaking I had not much activity at all and I thought I'd lost them. I'd always kept an eye out on them, and all I ever see was a lone worker like this lady here just sitting around on her own, not much Polyrachus activity at all. I think at one point I seen 3 workers cutting around, but that was about it. But they always seemed a bit lost, didn't really seem to have much purpose, so I just thought they were the lone survivors of the colony that was. And as you can see here, I was putting liquid feeders in their nest, in their terrarium, because one, as you can see, loads of springtails there were living off it, and also there's a load of wood lice in there that were living off it as well. And occasionally I'd want to keep the workers alive for as long as I can, because I'm not one that just lets them die. I'd put it in for the workers, but I forgot to add some honey water in for about a week or 2. Either way, I left it quite a long while. And unfortunately, this was the bit that I didn't get on camera. I just put some fresh honey water in there and I carried on doing my ant maintenance around my ant cave like I normally do. Then I looked over and the honey feeder, the liquid feeder was packed with about 9 Polyrachus workers, and I was like, wow, what's going on here? Didn't expect to see that many. I seen no activity at all really, and I started to look around the nest area where I thought it was to see if I could find any more workers. Maybe they'll still camped out, maybe they managed to defend themselves and they fought off a Solenopsis and to the point of where I noticed they were in there, and I managed to clear out the workers and they managed to survive. Now, what I did look around and I couldn't find it for love nor money, and then what I did find though was yet again some workers on that back log. Now as you can see, there is some activity in the arts, there's been some excavation there, but yeah, 1 lone worker, but there was loads of wood lice all over it. Now this kind of indicated to me that they clearly aren't setting up home in this log anymore, and I couldn't see any more activity, and the trails definitely weren't going back to the log, so they must be somewhere else. So what I did was I followed some workers. And what I can tell you about those workers, they didn't take a direct route, but what I did find was this eventually when I followed them. You noticed in the end of this log there's a load of debris that's been moved there. Now this was never there before, so I looked around, couldn't see a great deal of activity, but there's clear indication this has been moved there by something. Now the wood lice aren't going to do this. There's only one thing that could do this, and that was ants. And if you look about, you can see that there has been some weaving going on there as well. Now that's important because I'll tell you why in a second. As you can see, there's some weaving there at the bottom of that screen just then. I think I'll zoom into it in a second with a macro lens, and you can see that there is definitely some weaving activity there, which means that they've got brood. They can't weave unless there's brood, so that means there is some young there, which is awesome. Now freeze frame, because bit of a disclaimer, this was just taken as I'm editing this video, this footage. What I'm going to do is clip to the footage I took at the time, and as you can see here that there is a load of activities. There was 9 workers, there was workers all around this entrance as well, because they've obviously been hyped up with the food that they've got, so they're paying an interest into it. But you can clearly see a number of workers, and I think it's this video, so I'll keep it playing and I'll correct myself when I get to it, that I also noticed some larvae as well, which is absolutely brilliant news, because this means that I've got, hopefully, fingers crossed, I've got a reproductive, because that was about a month ago. This larvae is quite big, so I think it's either been born just before the Solenopsis attack or potentially after the Solenopsis attack, which means I've got a queen that's still alive, at least one anyway. So either they seen the Solenopsis attack, and look, there's the larvae there, that is what I'm talking about. It looks like a larvae to me. I think I get a better view of it a bit later, but larvae, fingers crossed. That means that either they seen the attack coming, evac the nest and set up this one, because this looks a relatively new construction, because at the time I found this nest, you can see here it's a bit ragged. Now the footage I'll show in a bit, you'll see there's been a lot more weaving activity going on, so I think they may have evac'd out of that nest because the Solenopsis were there, and they've took refuge, which is great because I think I've got about 20 plus workers again. If they were the original 20 plus workers, let me freeze frame here as well actually. Now those eagle-eyed amongst you would know that this is a leaf cutter ant, or my Apromyrmex opspinosis worker, a major actually. You might be thinking, why the hell is that there? Now the reason that is there is not because they got into this outworld as well, it's there because what I do is when I was emptying out the trash pile from my leaf cutters, I was moving it into the terrarium because of all the nutrients and stuff, because it's packed full of it, and they use it for the trash for the old fungus, and they use it to put the dead in there as well. So what's blatantly happened is when I've been piling it on there, they have found this this worker's carcass and they've used it to weave their nest out of. Kind of funny, but that's what they're doing it, and that's what it's there for, just so you know. I think next time I'll freeze frame when it's actually in focus, but hey. So as you can see, plenty of activity here because that was taken back last weekend, I think it was, when they first got the food. But now, if you look here, this is taken tonight. There's not a lot of activity around there, but this is why I think I missed them and didn't notice they were there before, because unless there's something of interest, they just seem to lurk in the nest. But that was, like I said, at the weekend, so the workers aren't gone anywhere. They're clearly here still. But anyway, as you can see, as we look in here, there has been some more weaving activity going on. They're using the mud there. It looks like the abdomen of another leaf cutter. But if you look here, this is what I'm talking about. Look at all that weaving that's been going on. That is fresh weaving as well by the young. So clearly there is something going down there. Fingers crossed that there is still a queen there, at least. Well, I'd like at least one, but if I've got all three of them there, I'll be on cloud 9. But like I said, clearly activity there, clearly weaving. That is one happy hood because he seriously thought he had lost his Connolly. But that's not the only issue I noticed about these guys, so I'm obviously focusing on these at the moment, about feeding them and stuff like that. Now I've popped a cockroach freshly in there, and you can see the woodlice are taking an interest, but you come back like a minute later and all the woodlice are there. Now I don't think that my Solenopsis, not Solenopsis, why I've got them in my head, my Polyrhacus are strong enough to fight this horde off. So I need to come up with a solution for them so I can feed them where they can feed relatively at ease, so I can ensure that the new larvae is getting all the food that they want. So what I decided to do was make a little platform, 3D print it and stick it in. Now I needed it to be thin enough so the woodlice couldn't climb up it. Now Polyrhacus wouldn't have any issues with that, and they also can climb on the glass to get to it. So this was a method of like feeding them without it getting swarmed with the woodlice getting all over it and stopping them getting to the food. It's a really simple design. It took literally 55 minutes to print, and it works because the larger woodlice can't climb it, but the small ones still can. But I'm not concerned at that because I believe that the Polyrhacus should be able to fight them off if they need to. The only thing is I've actually yet to see my Polyrhacus dives actually find the food and feed off it yet. But I'm sure it will work. Now if we go back to this lovely lady, because she proves my point, Polyrhacus are efficient hunters, and they're not unknown to hunt the springtails. Now if you watch her, you'll see she keeps popping up the springtails as well. So I think that I have been lacking giving them fresh protein, because I've just been putting rubbish in there and dead cockroaches from the cockroach setup in there, just to keep everything ticking over biodiversity wise. But I know that ants hunt springtails, and I think that they've been getting the protein from the springtails because I've not seen them ever attack one of the woodlice yet. But they might be doing that as well. Truth be told, there is no guarantee that the queens survived the attack, and they might have just managed to rescue a couple of the brood which they used to weave with. That is not beyond the realms of possibility, but I am very optimistic that I've actually still got some queens, so keep your fingers crossed for me, boys and girls. Now I do apologise for my inconsistent videos, ladies and gents, but if you've been watching my live streams or my last one, you know exactly what's going on in my personal life, and it's very difficult for me. So I'm still quite inconsistent with my videos, but I will get them out when I get time to do it. This is a short video today, but I do hope you enjoyed it, and for a refreshing change in my life at the moment, it's actually good news, which is great. Thank you guys for watching this video and your continued support, but also a big massive thank you to my Patreon supporters. That's Adam W, Antantix, Antimatter, David D, Paul A, Pavance, PJ Grant and the 530 Ski. I know my videos are inconsistent, but these guys are still looking out for me, so a big thank you to you guys. I've also got YouTube membership, so I still owe a big massive thank you to Antimatter, Lee, PJ Grant and Makushi, because they also support me but by different means. If you want to become a YouTube member, click the thanks, I think it is, tab below this video. Now I'm getting my head around what's going on in my life. I do hope that my videos become a lot more consistent. But anyway, I will stop talking rubbish. Thank you for watching this video and I look forward to seeing my next one. Bye-bye for now.